So, has your autistic tween seemed different lately? Maybe they're more irritable, more private, more emotional, more tired, more sensitive, more shut down, or just different. And maybe you're sitting there thinking, what's going on? Because sometimes puberty doesn't show up as one obvious big moment or big change. Sometimes it shows up as little changes first. A child who suddenly cannot tolerate their clothes. A child who starts needing more privacy. A child who seems more reactive, more flat, more teary, or more overwhelmed. A child who starts pulling away, getting snappy, or struggling with things that seemed easier a few months ago. And a lot of parents see these behaviour changes before they realise puberty is part of the picture. And for over 30 years, I've been helping families teach sex ed in ways that actually work in real life. And the one thing I see all the time is this: parents often notice the impact of puberty before they realise puberty is what they're actually looking at. Because when autistic kids hit puberty, it's not just body changes. It can also be more sensory sensitivity, more overwhelm, more need for privacy, more confusion about bodies, more shutdown and big feelings, or more behaviour that gets misread as attitude. So, in this episode, I'm going to walk you through what puberty can look like when sensory, body awareness, and regulation differences are in the mix, what often gets misread as refusal or withdrawal, and how understanding what is changing can help you respond earlier and more calmly. And stay with me because at the end, I'll give you a 1 minute challenge to help you notice one change without turning it into a problem. What if talking to your tween about sex felt cringe-free and more natural? Welcome to Sex Ed for Tween Parents, where sex ed stays real. This season, we're focusing on autistic tween and what helps sex ed actually land. I'm CATH HAKANSON, sex educator, autistic ADHD mum, and I'm here to help you move from panic and pressure to sex ed that's just bloody effective. First thing I want to say is this: puberty does not always look neat and tidy. It does not always arrive with one obvious conversation, one obvious body change, or one easy moment where you think, okay, this is puberty now. A lot of the time, especially with autistic tweens, puberty shows up as a mix: body changes, sensory, emotional changes, regulation changes, privacy changes. And if you're only looking for the obvious textbook signs like pubic hair, breast development, you can miss how much is already going on. Puberty is a body doing a lot. Hormones are shifting, bodies are growing, smells change, skin changes, body hair appears, breasts may start developing, testicles and genitals change, and periods might start. Erections happen, sweat changes, sleep can get different, and that is already a lot. Now, add in an autistic nervous system, and a child who already notices sensations strongly may suddenly notice even more. Clothes can feel worse, bras can feel really uncomfortable, and underwear can just feel wrong. Deodorant can feel sticky, and periods can feel confusing or just overwhelming. Erections can be alarming, and body hair can just feel yucky and strange. And sweat and body odor can also feel distressing as well. And for some autistic kids, body awareness can be patchy too. So they might not even notice the early signs of the early changes very clearly. Or they might notice them, but not know how to describe them. Or they might feel off in their body without understanding why. And that can actually look like more irritability, more shutdown, more sensory overload, more need or control, or more distress around everyday routine. And if you don't realize that puberty's in the mix, it can just look like your child is suddenly struggling for no reason at all. But there's usually a reason. A lot's changing. And some of those changes can feel big, unfamiliar, uncomfortable, or just plain awful in the body. Now, this is the bit that I really want parents to hear. A lot of puberty stuff gets misread. A child wants more privacy, and it gets read as secrecy. A child gets snappy, and it gets read as attitude. A child pulls away from touch, and it gets read as rejection. A child refuses certain clothes, and that can get read as being difficult. Or a child seems flat, moody, or shut down, and it gets read as bad behaviour or laziness. But sometimes what you're looking at is a child whose body suddenly feels different and harder to live in. And that matters because when puberty starts, autistic tweens may not have easy words for what's happening. They might say, "My body feels strange. My breasts hurt," or "My skin feels awful. My underwear feels wrong. I feel embarrassed. I don't understand why I'm more emotional." Or "I hate that feeling of sweat." Or "I don't like pubic hair and how it feels on my body when I wash myself." And they may just show you through their behavior, through their irritability, and through avoiding things, and through needing more space, and also through getting overwhelmed more quickly. And if adults do not clock that puberty might be part of the picture, kids can end up getting corrected for things that are actually signs of distress, discomfort, or confusion. And that does not help because what they often need in that moment is not more pressure. They actually need more understanding. They need information, preparation, and support for what's changing. Now, that doesn't mean that every behaviour gets explained away by puberty, but it does mean that puberty is worth checking into before you decide a behaviour is just attitude or refusal. And that is a really important change. Once you start seeing puberty as part of the picture, a lot can make more sense. And when things make more sense, you usually respond more calmly. Instead of thinking they're being difficult, you might think maybe they're uncomfortable. So instead of they're shutting me out, you might think they might need more privacy because their body feels different. And instead of thinking they're overreacting, instead, you might think, the sensory load might be bigger right now. And that changes how you parent and it changes how you teach sex ed too. Because when you know puberty might already be showing up, you can get in earlier with useful, clear information. And you can say things like, puberty can make your body feel different in ways that are annoying and even uncomfortable. Or you might notice your skin, sweat, hair, or body smell changing. That's normal, even if it feels weird. Or if your body starts changing and you're not sure what's happening, you can tell me. You don't have to explain it perfectly, but let's talk. Or you might want more privacy as your body changes, and that's natural. Lots of kids do. Those kinds of sentences matter because they actually help your child to make sense of what is happening before shame rushes in. And that's what we want. We want puberty to feel understandable, not mysterious. We want body changes to feel named and not hidden. And we want kids to know that if something feels weird, uncomfortable, or confusing, that they can bring it to you. So if your autistic tween has seemed more reactive, more private, and more uncomfortable, or just more off lately, I want you to hold open the possibility that puberty might already be a part of what you're seeing, not as a panic and not as a problem, just as part of the picture. Because when you can see the picture more clearly, you're much less likely to react in ways that add pressure or shame. And if you're listening and thinking, okay, I can see this now, but I'm still not sure how to talk about it, well, that is exactly where I want to help. So if this episode has you thinking, okay, Kath, I can now see that some of what I'm noticing might actually be puberty, and you want help making those conversations clearer and easier, that is exactly why I created my neuro-affirming sex ed guide. It's designed to help you teach all the things you need to teach around sex ed and puberty, but in ways that are clear, practical, and easier for neurodivergent kids to process. So instead of waiting until everything feels obvious or trying to make sense of it all on the fly, you actually have something solid to work from. And if that sounds like what you need, you can go and grab it at neuro-affirmingsexed.com or click the link below in the show notes. Because puberty usually gets easier to support when you can see it clearly and talk about it clearly. So here's your 1 minute challenge for today. Notice one body or behavior change without interpreting it as a problem. Just one. Maybe your child is asking for more privacy. Maybe they seem more sensitive to clothing. And maybe they're more tired. Maybe they're more reactive or more flat. Or maybe they're suddenly more aware of smell, sweat, hair, or body changes. Just notice it. No fixing, no overthinking, no rushing in with a big explanation. Just notice it as information because that is often the first step. When you stop jumping straight to problem, you make more room for curiosity, calm, and better support. And that changes a lot. Thanks for joining me for this episode of Sex Ed for Tween Parents, the Autistic Edition. If this episode helped, I'd love it if you left a quick review. It helps more parents like you find the podcast and realise that puberty does not always look the way they were expected it to. And don't forget to grab the Neuro-Affirming Sex Ed guide at neuro-affirmingsexed.com or in the show notes. And next episode, we're going to talk about how to talk about puberty without overwhelming your autistic tween. Happy talking.